Yo, what is going on? It's your boy back again for another week of the Players Ball Podcast where we cover all sports far and wide. I'm your host, Roddy. Go get me on YouTube at the Players Ball Podcast, but more importantly, go follow our social media at the Players Ball 1 on Twitter and at the Players Ball Podcast on Instagram. Then go give my personal page a follow at Roddy404 on both platforms. And yeah, once you do that, you can come back here and, see me express my real pain over, what happened in the SEC championship game. We'll definitely get to that, as well as everything that's going on in the NFL. It's starting to become playoff push time, so a lot of these teams are getting down to the nitty gritty. So we'll definitely talk about that, as well as what is going on in college basketball. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our news segment. Let's start it off with the Ravens and the Steelers. Now, if anybody didn't watch that game, you missed the best game possibly of the weekend. I'm not really sure if there are a lot of good games to choose from in the weekend, but nonetheless, this is one of the best ones we got. The Ravens were driving down the field to either, tie the game or go and win it with a 2-point conversion. They decided to, go the 2-point conversion route because their defense lost Marlon Humphrey, potentially for the year with a shoulder injury, should I say. And they were just getting torched the entire game by an old-ass man in Ben Roethlisberger. So Harbaugh, just didn't really trust his defense. He wanted to go for it and win the game and get out of there. And they didn't. If you saw the play, Mark Andrews, he was, maybe a catchable pass. A lot of people are mad at him because he didn't run his route correctly. A lot of people are mad at Lamar for some reason, even though if you watch that, play over again, all his offensive linemen are on their backs when he throws the ball. And he has TJ Watt, the Defensive Player of the Year, in his face. So I don't really know what else he has to do, but yeah, I don't know. So yeah, the Ravens take a tough loss. They're still first in the division. Obviously, with a game against Cleveland coming up, I think that's why Harbaugh was a little bit more comfortable with doing that. You can still get a leg up on the division. Pittsburgh going on the road in a short week. It was a lot of things that contributed to him calling that 2-point conversion. So don't think it was an awful call. Definitely think it should have been executed, but, shit happens. Now, to keep it pushing in the NFC, the Cardinals, man, I don't know when they're going to stop. And I don't think they will because they have the talent to upkeep this. Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins coming back obviously was huge. James Conner was big in that game. The Bears stinking was big in that game as well. And yeah, the Cardinals keep on rolling with an 11-point victory. So, we're going to have to see how they fare this upcoming week. They got the Rams at home. So last time they played, you saw what happened. So with the addition of Odell, maybe the subtraction of Robert Woods, it might be a different game, but who knows? We'll have to see. But to go back to the AFC really quickly, the Dolphins, shout out to our dog Kyle, okay? And Kyle, I know you've been through the ringer with this team. I know you started, I think it was 1-7 last year. And then you did 1-6 or 1-7 this year too. And now y'all are 4-0 since you came on the podcast. So I'm just saying, man, might pay you and your team to come on the Players Ball Podcast. I'm just saying. But, the Dolphins have been playing really well. Maybe their competition hasn't been as tough as it was in the beginning of the year, but Tua's playing well. Jalen Waddle really looks like a top 2 receiver. If you want to say Devontae's look better, that's fine. But, Jalen's got the numbers. So he's been going crazy. And I appreciate that because he's on my fantasy team 1. But I think this Dolphins team can be really good. Obviously, getting Xavier Howard back was huge for them, just to have that guy as a piece on the defensive end, really the core of it, if we're being honest. And yeah, they're playing better football now. So shout out to them boys, man. Maybe they can challenge for the division, especially with a Bills loss. Maybe they can sneak their way in there. I don't know. But the AFC is getting a little wild this year for sure. But shout out everybody in the D, man. Shout out to my boy Pakari. He's been laboring, waiting, hoping, wishing for this victory. And God bless. He came into Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. And by the way, last Friday, I said on this very here podcast that the Lions were gonna do it. But if you didn't watch it and if you didn't bet, then you wouldn't know. So be sure to stay tuned because I did call my shot last week and I was right. I mean, with this Vikings team being so up and down, obviously the stuff with Emerson Griffin really affecting the team. I just saw this as a perfect opportunity for the Lions to sneak one. And if you saw any of the defense that they played in that final drive against the Lions, that's why I picked them. So shout out to the Lions, man. I'm really appreciative that y'all finally broke through. Dan Campbell being a former Saints coach, I definitely want to see him succeed up there. And if you saw his players give him the game ball after the game, you saw they love this man. They want to play for him. They want him to be there because he believes in them and he's realistic with them as well, which I think is the one important thing because a lot of coaches are likable, but if you're not realistic with your players as well, I think, you'll easily see that they'll, be trying to read through the BS for lack of a better term. So definitely shout out to Detroit. It's about damn time. And my boy Daviel. Shout out to you too, because you was trying to act like you was like a Bengals fan or some shit. But to keep it pushing, my boy David, he's living good too. I mean, his Washington football team and my guy Omega the God, shout out to him as well. They've won I think this is 3 or 4 in a row for them as well. They went to Vegas and they edged out the Raiders in the late stages of the game. And really all I can say about this team is Taylor Heineke is for real, which again, if you go back to our NFC East preview, I believed in the kid. I thought he played really well coming into a game. It was at home, yes, but it was against Tom Brady in the playoffs, and it's your first start. So for him to show the courage that he did, for him to play as well as he did in that game, I also think it's one of those things where it's a guy who's an underdog. I mean, you look at this guy's college tape, he was a dog. So, he's always got the chip on his shoulder type mentality, trying to, prove himself in this league, which is good because you're seeing the results of it being positive. So shout out to Heineke, man. The defense is playing way better, even though they lost Chase. But big game coming up this weekend against Dallas, man. They're going to have to win that if they, want to have a chance to win the division again. So we'll see what happens. Now, to go to the West Coast, our guy Jimmy G, as your boy Stephen A like to call him, porn star Jimmy, he looked pretty bad. He pretty much gave the game away, to be honest. And then he went down, at the final stages of the game and, with the final play, got his pass blocked at the line. Just all bad with the Niners losing that game. A game they should have won and a game that they needed in order to keep pace with the Cardinals and with the Rams. Even though I don't feel like they're going to catch them, they have an over 500 record in a NFC where it's, 9-10 wins might get it, in this playoff year. So we'll have to see. I don't think they are going to make the playoffs because I think this is the nail in their coffin. Obviously they have to play the Rams again. Obviously, they also have to play the Cardinals again. So, yeah, man. Oh, no, I think they played the Cardinals twice already. Yeah, they did. But, yeah, got to play the Rams again. Already played the Seahawks twice and got swept. Not looking good. But to move it on to our Monday night game, Bill Belichick is the GOAT. Y'all know that, right? Not only is he the GOAT football coach, but he might be one of the greatest coaches in professional sports ever. The man ran the ball 35 times in a row and won the game. And if you're a Buffalo Bill, I'm ashamed. Purely. Embarrassed is the word. And I know Micah Parsons, or Micah Hyde, should I say, was upset at that question or whatever. But, bro, you just got thoroughly dominated and you knew what was going to happen, and nothing happened on your end. No pushback. I mean, they did stop the run on a couple of plays, did get a couple of tackle for losses, but once they gave it over to the offense, it was like, we ain't got nothing either. So just a defensive masterclass by Bill Belichick, him running the ball over and over and over again. It's really, truly hard to believe that actually happened on Monday night. But again, that's the GOAT. You go into a game with a game plan that you feel confident in, you execute it, and you win the game. That's how it's supposed to be. So definitely shout out to him. He's the GOAT. And all y'all that was saying Brady made him, like, come on, be real. Now, to go to the college ranks, I've been avoiding it for as long as possible. Georgia lost. We got our tails kicked. Stetson didn't play the greatest. I don't think he played bad, but I don't think he did enough for us to win that game, which, again, he's gonna have to do, because I've been saying this all year, even though I agree the kid has played well enough to deserve a chance to actually get out there on the field and prove himself to be either worthy or not worthy of playing against competition like this. But ultimately, I mean, you have to make those key throws. You have to finish off drives. You have to get touchdowns, not field goals, against Alabama. That's just what it is. And I think a lot of the things that people aren't pointing out is the fact that Alabama can score on 3 or 4 plays. We have to take 10 to 11 plays to score. And that's been, throughout the duration of Stetson starting. Like, we've always had these longer drives. And if we can't hit those home runs against, DBs that are quote unquote elite, then it's going to be the same result. So we're going to the drawing board. We're still the number 3 team in the nation, meaning that we are in the college football playoff. If I was Michigan, I would be prepping very hard, even though they have a great defense. I still think that Georgia wins that game. Maybe not convincingly, but I do think it's a touchdown victory. And we move on to the national championship to try to go redeem ourselves. So, yeah, I'm staying positive, man. I'm not quitting yet. We got to be dead before I quit, okay? But to move on to the number 4 team in the nation, Cincy, they rolled. Houston gave them a fight early, made it 13-14. But after that, it was just, nowhere to be found by Cincy. So shout out to them. They are definitely deserving of the top 4, going undefeated in their season. It's really all you can do. Win all your games and, let the committee decide it for you. So shout out to them, man. Shout out, for real. Now, to go to college hoops, man, Gonzaga fell to Alabama at the crib, by the way. Alabama started shooting the lights out. That was actually on Saturday as well, so they pulled the double. And Gonzaga staying top 5 is a little fishy to me. Might, hashtag that call might have been made, but I don't know. We'll have to see how Gonzaga fares with some of these elite teams going, throughout their season, because they do have, some of those non-conference games as challenging games, for them to show and prove that just because they play in a weaker, conference doesn't mean that they're a weaker team. But we've seen them go up against, some of the cream of the crop of the NCAA, and they haven't been that good. So as the season progresses, we'll have to see how they go on and to see if they're really a contender or pretender. Now, to kick it off with soccer, no pun intended, Club Brugge, they ran into PSG, man. What can I say? I really thought PSG was going to start slow in this game, but obviously Mbappe, Messi, just a masterclass. They win their group. They're going to the round of 16 in the Champions League, which is starting next year technically, but it's starting pretty soon. So I'm excited for that. That is definitely going to be where we ramp up our Champions League coverage, because group stage is cool, but everybody has a complaint with the group stage and how it works and, how non-exciting it is. So with the round of 16, you're definitely going to get excitement, drama, everything that you're used to in the Champions League. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But to close it out for our news segment, AC Milan, they are now in Europa. Unfortunate, because I do think they're a pretty good squad. They just ran into Liverpool. Porto will be going instead of them, and yeah, man, I want AC Milan to be good again, but I just I don't know. They can't all put it all together. I think a lot of it has to do with the stigma of Serie A and, Italy playing there in general. But hey, man, it is what it is. Liverpool is going to be one of the top 4 teams competing not only for the Champions League, but for their own league. So it's really no shame in losing to them 2-1 at home. But yeah, AC Milan's got to figure it out, man, if they ever want to get back to the glory years of the early 2000s and, stuff like that. But that's our news segment. You already know what time it is, man. After this, it's time to get into that big 3. All right, time for the big 3. Let's start off with Dame, man. Dame is going through it, boy. And everybody makes the running from the grind jokes, and I get it. They are hilarious. I ain't gonna lie. But look, man, I'm just personally confused, right? Because he could have asked out in the offseason. He didn't. Well, there were rumblings. You know what I'm saying? You know how players do. They'll put it out there in the media that, hey, I might want to leave type shit. And he didn't directly ask for the trade, which is fine. He might have still wanted to see how the season played out. And they responded with being one of the worst defensive teams I've ever seen in my entire life. If you've watched the Portland Trailblazers play basketball this year, you have been shocked at the lack of defensive effort, prowess, just knowledge. Like, everything is bad with them on defense. And I can see why there are reports that have been conveniently sprinkled out there that he wants to play with a defensive player of the likes of an Aaron Gordon, which was weird that he named him, Ben Simmons, yada, 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 these kind of guys. So really, I'm confused with what Dame's trying to do, where a good fit for him would be, because obviously he's trying to get his extension. He's trying to get his 2-year extension and get his money. Him being over 31 years old is kind of a red flag for some teams, especially because he's going to require a lot of money and you're not going to get a lot of time from him. The guy's not, constantly injured or anything like that, but still, for some franchises, it just might not be worth, that trade-off anyway. So with, CJ having a collapsed lung now, he's going to be out for some indefinite time. Definitely prayers up to him. I hope he's okay. I just don't see why he would stay, man. I really don't. With Chauncey Billups coming in and, being the new head coach, I think it might be a perfect time to say, okay, this is it with Dame. We got to go, try something else, draft more guys or draft whoever, and get this thing rolling. But the Blazers, they're not going to be in contention this year. They might be a play-in team, if anything. But I just don't see them doing anything realistic or even being contenders, which is what Dame wants to do. I understand that he knows how hard winning a championship is. But at least contending, which he's been doing in Portland, for the past couple of years, should be your minimum standard. And this year, that's not even going to be close. So I say he gets the hell out of there. He should have got the hell out of there. But that's just me. He has to find the right, suitor. Well, the Blazers do, should I say. And, get the right compensation back for him so they can start their rebuild properly with their new coach. But, yeah, man, we'll have to see in the coming days how this really pans out. But this has been an ongoing story that's been interesting because we all knew Dame should have left, but maybe he was the last one to figure out. So we'll see. Now, to move it on to number 2, shout out to a black man working, Marcus Freeman. He is officially the head coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish football team, the second black head coach in their history. I really feel like he is more than deserving, with the job he did in recruiting only in 1 year. Obviously Notre Dame only lost 1 game this year as well. He's seen to be as Brian Kelly's, head guy in recruiting this past year. So it's, pretty obvious that you want the guy who was in some of these players' living rooms, last summer and last spring and everything like that. You want that guy to be your leader because he was, selling you guys his pitch. to the players. And I just think it's a great fit. I have to, credit Bomani Jones for taking a look at this in a way that's, kind of different by saying that most of these coaches that are, these younger guys, 30-year-olds kind of thing, they've been really successful in their jobs. If you look at it, Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, Bob Stoops has been successful. He was very young when he got his job. So a lot of these guys are really making their splashes earlier on in their career. And, they end up being legacy coaches. So hopefully Marcus can be that, man, because I am really excited for him. Not a Notre Dame fan at all, but I just think it's really significant, whenever you're a black guy in an area where black guys ain't necessarily supposed to be. I definitely think you deserve all the kudos in the world, regardless of who you're coaching for. So shout out to Marcus Freeman, man. He's definitely a real one, and I wish you the utmost success in all your endeavors at Notre Dame. Now, to kick off why do I keep saying kick off? To end our Big Three segment, the Heisman voting. Now, the Heisman usually has those one or two guys who you're like pretty sure on, probably by like week 6 to 7, just because of the insane performances they've outputted. And we really haven't had that this year. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson has been really good. Bryce Young obviously, cemented in my mind his Heisman Trophy win with his performance last Saturday against Georgia. But I mean, other than that, like, I guess the kid from A&M's been pretty good. The kid from Michigan State's been pretty good as well. It's not really a great crop of talent, to be honest with you. I do agree that, by far it is the weakest class, but I think whoever wins it will be deserving of it, because you have to just simply be the best, of the year. And if it's a down year, then you just got to be good enough. So, like I said, I think Bryce did that on Saturday. I think it's his to lose, to be honest with you. I think that kid's going to be really good next year, which if I'm a Georgia or a Ole Miss fan who just lost their offensive coordinator this morning, by the way, I'd be a little worried. I'd definitely be cognizant of, the Alabama team and how they're structured. Not to say that they aren't, cognizant of that every year, but, with them having one of the most dynamic quarterbacks they've had in their history, you really got to make sure you account for that. So definitely going to be interested to see who wins it this year. Like I said, my money's on Bryce. I think it's pretty obvious at this point, but everybody got their own opinion, so we'll see. But that will do it for today's show. Thank you again for watching. Again, please go get us on Instagram at the Players Ball Podcast, as well as on Twitter at the Players Ball 1, the number 1, and then go follow me on both platforms at Roddy404. You're on YouTube now, so thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that comment button, hit that repost button, hit that copy link button, and send it to somebody. Do all that stuff to make sure that we can get as many ears and eyes as possible. And until later in this week, we'll catch y'all later, man. Peace.